You're listening to the Sacred Mama Podcast. I'm your host, Kara Ray, aka the Sacred Mama. I'm a mindset and relationship coach, helping mothers nurture the relationship between themselves, their spouse, and their children. This is also sometimes inside of a co-parenting relationship. This podcast was designed specifically for mothers, stepmothers, and soon-to-be mothers to come together and truly support one another, to have the real, raw, honest, unfiltered, and soulful conversations about the realities of motherhood. My goal is for mothers to reclaim their self-worth and reclaim their self-identity while navigating motherhood. It's time you treated yourself as a priority because most of all, you matter. I believe that you can have the thriving family life. I believe that you can have the booming business. And I believe that you can have the passionate and abundant relationship. Most of all, I believe you can fully love yourself in the now without sacrifice. Throughout this podcast, you'll gain access to the minds of industry leaders and of course, solo episodes by yours truly. So let's dive in. Welcome to another episode of the Sacred Mama Podcast. Today I have Ashlee Angelus on the podcast, and we're going to be talking about motherhood and business. So Ashlee is a mom of a 2-year-old NICU warrior. She's a loving wife, and she's born and raised as a Jersey girl who loves country music but can jam out to some rap. So that is my kind of girl. And she also helps empower moms to monetize their business ideas and furthermore, bring them into fruition. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Super excited to be here. This is really fun. Love being part of it.
I'm happy for you to be here. So today, like I said earlier, we're going to be diving into motherhood and business. So if you guys hear my kids in the background, everybody's navigating right now being home with their kids. So yeah. Patience and grace, guys. This is doing the dang thing no matter what.
Yes.
But
my son's out there tearing up something, so we're good.
So I always ask this one question before we actually dive into everything else. And that really is like, what is your definition of motherhood? And what does that actually mean to you?
Oh, whoa, that's like a heavy one.
That's the only one I feel that is heavy.
That's a heavy one. So motherhood to me would be like just being present for my son and, you know, creating that good example for him, like meeting him where he wants to go, what he wants to do, and just exposing him to different experiences and having, you know, accessibility to different types of experiences and things to do, things to get invested in, and having just like explore different parts of the world. We love to travel. We always say like travel is like 100% something that we want to do with our kids. And that's the best way to, you know, put ourselves out there too and learn like what's going on. So I would have to say like being presence, exposure, experience, and I guess like love and communication. That's pretty much what motherhood like really means to me.
That's a beautiful description. I love the communication and just everything you said in total about what we teach our kids and what we're actually modeling for our children. And so, you know, I really want you, if you don't mind, to share a little bit more of like your personal story of how you came into like entrepreneurship and what that looked like for you, really as a mom who really transitioned into business.
Ooh, okay. So that's a boatloaded question.
So sorry. I feel like these questions weren't. And then I'm like, I told her before we even dove into this, I was like, I promise you, these aren't heavy questions. And she's like, oh, keep them going.
I just don't know like where to like start. Okay. So long story short, I've gone from cosmetologist to entrepreneur. So I always had the entrepreneurial itch, but it was more so like I wanted the validation and I would say like the validation and the support from my family to like really do it. But what I was taught was like, go after the title, go after the 6 figures, make sure that you're educated, make sure that you move yourself up the ladder. That's what I saw all of my life. Yeah. So it was constantly like, Ashlee, do this, Ashlee, do that. I was the black sheep in my family, still am. And so I was constantly trying to break down this stigma of like, well, that's not really what I want to do. And in the back of my head, it was just like, Ashlee, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. But anyway, long story short, I became a cosmetologist and I was like, I want to own my own business. And through all the breakthroughs and the breakdowns that I've had, losing my grandfather, losing a child, trying to prove people wrong all the time because I was that child with an IEP. I struggled in school. People told me I would never go to college. So I always really just like picked everything up off the ground. I was like, forget this. Like, if you're going to tell me I can't go to college, I'm going to college.
Yes.
I was someone like, you tell me I can't do it, I'll show you that I can do it.
Watch me.
Watch.
Yes.
Watch. So, I have my master's degree. I'm a certified behaviorist. I am a certified life coach. Like, I was collecting all of the degrees and all the certifications, thinking that proving other people wrong was suiting me when I could have started my business a really long time ago. But I really take advantage of like all the experiences of like college and the people that I met along the way and the great mentors. Like, I don't think I would be where I am without those experiences. 100%. But that mindset shift to know that like, I don't need to be defined by a degree or a certification or anything like that, and really just focusing on who I am as my true self. This really happened for me when my identity got really confusing after becoming a mom. Like, my identity after motherhood was like a huge shift for me. So I was always told that I would never be a mom, due to, I suffer from PCOS, throwing it out there. I was always told I wouldn't be a mom. I surprisingly got pregnant with my first, and I lost my first at 12 weeks. After that, it was like a really difficult time for me, but I quickly got pregnant with my son, which was another surprise. And had a beautiful pregnancy. I felt the best I've ever felt, like a beautiful, beautiful pregnancy. And then one day I was sitting at my desk, and this is a really long answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, keep going. Keep going. This is why we're doing this interview.
So I was sitting at my desk at my 9 to 5. I was being completely micromanaged by a team of a job that I was promised was something that really wasn't. I was underpaid. I was stressed out. And in this position, I got married, I got pregnant, the whole 9 yards, like all these big life changes. And for the longest time, I was feeling like, I want to leave this position. Like, there's something more for me. So I was like job searching again, but I was sitting at my desk that day, and I'm like, I don't feel good. Like, something's not right. And for like a week, I'm like, my back hurts. And I'm like, okay, I'm 36 weeks pregnant. It's probably like an elbow, a leg, in my ribs, trying to convince myself. So I got to the point where like, I just couldn't take the pain anymore. So I called my best friend and I said, yo, girl, like, you told me what I knew when I would be in labor. This hurts, but it doesn't feel like labor. I don't know what's happening. So I worked at a medical school, and I went into my boss, who was a doctor, and I said, I think I might be in labor. I'm not really sure. So she was like, well, you seem really uncomfortable. I'm like, yeah, I am. She was like, I think you should go to the ER. Drove myself to the ER, called my husband. He's coming home from an interview. And I was like, hey, I need you to meet me at the hospital. I'm driving to the hospital. I think I'm in labor. No idea if I am or not. And he's like, okay. And he thinks it's just my anxiety again. Like, okay, we'll go get checked out. We'll come home. Well, long story short, checked myself into the hospital. My blood pressure is like through the roof. It was the first time that my blood pressure was ever high. I had preeclampsia. They checked me into a room. They monitored me and the baby. The next morning, we had an ultrasound. I found out that my son was like measuring 36 weeks in some parts of his body and then 28 weeks at other parts. So he had intrauterine growth restriction. And after that ultrasound, they were like, you're having this baby right now. I go up to my room. It's literally like a movie. There's like 10 people in my room, and they're like all coming at me with like all these different things. And I'm like signing off papers, signing my life away, whatever that looked like. Don't really remember. Throw up all over myself. The next thing I know, I'm in the ER and or in the operation room, and my beautiful son comes about. We spent 3 months in the NICU, 57 days. And I suffered severe postpartum depression and anxiety. And it really hit actually when he came home. Okay? It wasn't when he was not with me. It was like when he came home, my husband couldn't get me out of bed. I wanted nothing to do with him. Like my baby, like I wanted nothing to do with him. He came home on a feeding tube. So I was like the nurse. I didn't feel like a mom because I didn't get the bond with my baby yet. So it was like a really dark time for me, and I was still trying to juggle, like, how much maternity leave do I have left? Like, are you coming back? Are you not? Talking to HR. And in that moment, I really just decided to like drop it all and putting my all into my business and making that shift, of just jumping into something that made me feel really good and creative and aligning myself with something. That's what like pulled me out of that hole. So that's a long answer to your question, but really it was, I guess, the birth of my son. Then I was like, I'm never going back to a job that doesn't suit me. I'm never in my life not living another day for like what I love to do, because I almost lost my life when it came to delivering my son. So
yeah,
I was on magnesium for like 4 days after that. I didn't get to meet him for the first 4 days. My mom and my mother-in-law met my son before I did.
that honestly sounds very similar to my mom. My mom didn't get to hold me for over 2 weeks because she had hemorrhage so bad, so worse than I didn't know that it was actually something that was hereditary.
Yeah.
And so it happened to me. However, medical, like almost 28 years ago versus now, what they knew then versus what they knew now is also still very different. So they were able to control it much quicker this round. But yeah, my mom wasn't able to. Then she got very sick. I also ended up very ill. So there was a lot of things. She felt very disconnected, very lost in what motherhood had looked like for her in that first little while. She was also very angry that she wasn't able to hold her child. Like, you have this child with you, and then the next thing you know, things are changing and you have zero control, and they're happening at like a speed of light. I still remember when my daughter was born, and they told me, because she started decelling, so like her heart rate started going down really fast, and they were like, you have 5 minutes, or like, we have to get her out. And I was like, no, I can push her out. I don't want you guys to do anything. And it was just insane. So there's so much that can happen that can be out of our control. And I also, I want to just note, sharing the fact that you had struggled with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. I want to thank you for sharing that, because there's a lot of women and a lot of moms who feel, a lot of moms who feel like they can't share that part of them, because there's a lot of people who still refer it to a taboo subject. And I really created this podcast as a safe place for us to have these conversations and to nurture these conversations, because this is something that, soon to be moms who are going to have other children, because just because it didn't happen the first time does not mean that it can't happen the second time. And so this is important to note, and important to be aware of, and to know that you're not alone, and it's a safe place for you to actually discuss it. So thank you for talking about it and sharing it with the moms inside this space, on the podcast, everything. And so regarding the business aspect, so we went from like a little bit of a heavier discussion. Now I really want to talk to you about like that motherhood and business, because I really want to ask about like, what do you believe is the biggest block in transitioning from working that 9 to 5 to then working from home and making that decision, like, no, I'm worth what I desire. I'm worth what I want. Like, what do you think is the biggest block?
The biggest block, I would say, is realizing that your family and your close friends aren't your supporters in your business.
100%.
They are definitely not the people who are going to be showing up like, you're doing great, you're doing awesome, like, this is phenomenal. They're going to be the people who are be like, why are you hanging out on Facebook?
Yeah, what are you doing? Why
what
are you doing that?
Like, the quote unquote, like, why don't you get a real job? Why would you walk away from like a secure income to do this thing? Really knowing that like your network is your net worth, and that the more you network and the more that you get into a realm of, building up your network, that is going to be your support system. And disconnecting from really thinking that like your best friend is going to support you in what you're doing, because that's not the case.
100%. And I actually want to touch on that, because my best friend, Faith was watching. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Faith. Hello, Kayla. Thank you. Faith said she'll have to continue watching the replay. That's okay. Watch the replay.
Guys. Hey, ladies.
And so I actually really want to touch on the best friend aspect and the secure income piece that you mentioned, because I have a best friend that I've been friends with since forever. And it is just within the last like 2 months that she's actually mentioned that I'm even doing anything like that. Like, it was something that when we were together, we never talked about it. It was something she didn't want to talk about. And
my best friend of like 20 something years hasn't even acknowledged that I've left my job and started a business.
Yeah. And I want to first acknowledge that has nothing to do with what we're doing. It actually is like a direct reflection of their insecurities, their discomfort, and also the fact that they remain comfortable in what makes them uncomfortable. So that's a lot of what we can't control. But I also want to touch on the whole secure income piece, because right now, that whole secure income is really being blown out of the water as not so damn secure anymore.
Yeah.
So like, it is so important that we have these conversations, because whether you work in a 9-to-5 corporate, you run a business, you brick and mortar, whatever it looks like to you, and you love what you do, then that's great. But the whole point is having a passion behind what you're doing.
Yes.
And with the secure income piece, like, as entrepreneurs, we consistently have the ability to make money, even in this season right now. So even in a season where people are worried or scared, entrepreneurs are spending money.
Yeah.
They're spending money. They're investing money. This is a market that is actually going to keep our economy afloat.
Yeah. I just invested 4 figures in my business on Monday.
Yeah, you did. Yeah. Like, I literally am a part of a mastermind. I'm a part of another group coaching program. I constantly invest in myself per month. And there wasn't a second where when all of this happened, I feel like I went into that fear that the world was feeling. But then it was like, what am I actually worried about?
Yeah.
What am I worried? The income that I have is not shifting.
And even realizing, like, when we're in this 9-to-5, like, any day you can walk into that office and they can say you're laid off.
Yes.
Any day they can walk into that office and say you're fired. Like, I have seen people who have worked 30 years in a company and have gotten fired out of the blue for no reason, because they're just trying to push them out. And they know how to do it in the way where they're not legally bound to, give you anything. So there is still that instability within the stability of a 9-to-5.
Yes.
And being ready for any type of, change and transition that comes when, a curveball is thrown at you. And being an entrepreneur, like, especially in this time right now, we have to think about it this way. Like, we're able to make money any way that we want to make money. Like, whatever you want to put out there and offer is the way that you can make money. Whatever way you want to invest, you can invest. But at the end of the day, when we made that commitment to our business, we made that commitment to ourselves.
Yes.
So we're committed to ourselves. And I know that my skills and my abilities and my coaching is able to, like, bring people to the next level. And what I am able to leverage and lean back on in a time like this, like, I know that I have the skills and I have the ability to help others. And it's not even sales. It's just like, I know that I can help people and I can help people do these things. Yes. So that's what, when it feels good, right?
Well, people need what you have. Like I work specifically mainly in that co-parenting aspect and also with parenting. Yes. Do you know how much support is needed during a pandemic through co-parenting? Right. Like, let's just call a spade that, okay? There are so many people who do not know how to navigate co-parenting right now. Let me tell you, learning how to navigate my own co-parenting relationship looks drastically different right now with me and my husband, co-parenting with his ex-wife versus what it looked like prior to this. Like, it's constantly learning, but there's so many people who need what you have to offer. You just have to actually offer it,
talk to them, have conversations, build relationships, build your network.
Yes. Like, there's many things, but you just have to start. Like, that first thing is you just have to start. And like the biggest block, like, in my personal opinion of the biggest block, is yourself. Like, you're the only person that is holding you back from actually stepping forward and doing what you want.
Yeah.
And I also, because I love where this conversation is going, because you were talking about how any moment you can walk into an office and all of a sudden you can lose your job. And I used to be a paramedic. So I worked as a paramedic for 5 years. And I am thanking the sweet heavens that I had made the decision to leave that career at the time that I did, because I could not imagine working it right now. Right. I send so much kudos to those who are working that. That is not what I want to be doing right now. And that's why I left before. But I literally got demoted 2 times for being honest about how I felt about some things, standing up for what I felt was wrong, standing up for being, like, basically verbally abused by somebody I worked for. And so, you don't have a control over what someone does to you when you have let them take that control. in regards to your business or what you do as a career.
Yeah.
And so I love what we've talked about with this. And so this actually adds really well into that whole business topic. But like, what have been 2 non-negotiables for you as a mother while running your business?
2 non-negotiables. Showing up every day for myself, like setting that time aside. So I teach my clients the 1-1-1 rule. So it's like 1 hour a day for yourself, 1 day a month, and then 1 week a year. So I really teach them to like have that 1 hour for themselves. So that's like non-negotiable for me. Like I need that an hour for myself every day to just be with myself. So that way I can be the best version. Like going back to like what motherhood means to me, I want to be present. Like I don't want you to have like various different versions of me. Like I worked really hard to get to the version of myself that I am today. So I want to maintain that. And, you know, our mindset is the igniter to our business. Our mindset is the foundation to everything and how we show up in our business and communicate. So I would say definitely the hour a day for myself. And then I would say the family time, like at 5 o'clock every single day, actually 4 o'clock, if I want to be honest here, 4 o'clock every single day, like I'm shut down. Like I completely like am checked out of the office. There's no more work. There's no more client calls. There's no more checking in. I may like glance at my phone for 10 minutes, but I'm completely checked out and, you know, really taking that time management and time blocking serious.
I love time blocking. It is like the best thing since sliced bread, I want to say. And so I actually love that you call it like the 1-1-1. Personally, for like myself, I have a morning routine where I do something for myself every morning, whether that's drinking tea or coffee and doing gratitude every day and reading personal development, whatever that looks like. But I agree that every single day, like as moms, as women, it's so important that we are taking care of ourselves and that we are nurturing ourselves, because in order to serve, so for example, ourselves as coaches, in order to actually have the energy to serve clients and also then take care of our family, we have to be taking care of ourselves. Like we have to be the person that comes first. I'm all about how taking care of yourself is not selfish. It's actually an act of self-care.
Yes.
And so I agree with that completely. And I love the 2 non-negotiables that you talked about.
Yeah. And especially like at the end of the day, like when I'm checking out, like that's like dinner with my son and my husband and making sure that I'm still maintaining that foundation that came before motherhood. And that was marriage, you know, that connection and communication and that, you know, team building and teammate piece of being a teammate with my husband and being able to connect with my husband and have that time with my husband, because we also have to remind ourselves of the foundation that we had before becoming a mom, before becoming parents and all that stuff. It's so easy to like just let all of that slip away. So I really take pride in, you know, putting time aside, not only for like my family and my business, but for myself and me and my husband, and taking that time out, because you don't want to lose that foundation of your marriage either.
No. So Sam is watching with us. Hello, Sam. Hello. She says, hello, gorgeous ladies, and nurture yourself always. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
So regarding that nurturement of your relationships prior to having those little ones is so important. Yes. I cannot stress that enough.
Here she goes. We're in her zone.
I'm like, I cannot stress that enough. I'm sitting here like, preach this. Yes.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Like, I just want to literally like, you know, when someone's like,
yes. Speak it to your soul.
Because at the end of the day, when your children leave the nest, who is there with you? Okay. Yes. Yourself and your spouse.
Right.
So like, if you're not nurturing that relationship, you're going to be 2 complete strangers inside of that home, not even knowing what that love is even supposed to mean, look like, or what you're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So me and my husband, like we talk every single day, like every day. Mm-hmm. And especially as we're navigating what is happening in the world, he is working from home. I'm working from home. We have all 4 kids at home. Like, hell yes, your communication skills need to up level in this space. Like you need to be asking each other, okay, how are you feeling? What do you actually need? Yeah. How can I actually support you? And it might not look the same every single day. And that's okay. Like today, it has been pretty calm in this house. Yesterday, we were like hot Miss Sally. Like it was not, I was like, I'm like, this is not my day.
It's like calm after the storm.
But while we're we're navigating all of this and navigating our relationships, like this is the time that we're actually getting to know that nurturing our family and nurturing like those close relationships are so crucial. Because you're like, at the end of the day, my belief is that we're going to be there for one another. Like I want to be there for my family. I want my children to know that we're there, that we're safe, that we're supported, that we're nurtured. And this is such a beautiful time to ensure that your spouse knows that they're loved, that they're cared for, that they're safe, and especially your children. Like I could go on for days about this.
It's funny. I always joke with my husband, because when, obviously when he comes home from work, I'm like, hey, how was your day? He'll start telling me what he did throughout the day.
Yep.
And I'll say, like, how are you? He'll start telling me what he did throughout the day. I'm like, I didn't ask what you did today. I'm asking how you are.
Yes.
And it's really difficult because that's not like a usual. People don't usually ask, like, how are you? And if they ask, how are you? Like, you get that simple generic answer. Good, fine, great, awesome, fantastic. And then nobody digs any deeper. And I can tell by like setting that time aside to see from my husband when he's like, oh, it was good. I can tell that it wasn't good. So let's have a chat. Let's talk about it. It's funny.
Sorry, go ahead. I thrive on like conversation, actual connection and conversation. I loathe small talk.
Yeah.
Like it is something that I want someone to tell me, if you're good, tell me why you're good. If you're fine, tell me what makes it fine. Like I actually want to know. And I've said to my husband a few times, because I know it's that thing where you just know, like, know if something's off. And so, or even if they're like, they want to say something, but they haven't, I'm like, what's up? Like, just tell me. And he's like, no, it's all good. It's all good. I'm like, no, just tell me. And so I finally had to say to him, though, at the same time, is that I'm not going to constantly sit here and like ask you 10 million times to talk to me. I want you to know that you can, and I want you to trust that you can.
Yes.
But don't force me to ask you over and over and over again, because that will also make your spouse close off to asking you.
Right.
Like,
because technically I'm beating it out of you, but not really.
Yes. And I've told him, like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, because then I get frustrated, you get frustrated, and then it comes out. I'm like, but we just need to have the openness to talk about it. But we live in a society where like talking about your feelings or talking about what's actually happening in the world is like holy dynamite. Like, what are we doing? It's almost like taboo to people.
Or like friendships have turned into like text messages and like not really making the effort, like to see people. like let's not do that. Like, let's actually like care about people. Like, let's actually like try to set aside the time. And I feel like this is the perfect thing. Not that it's a perfect thing that's happening, but it's the perfect time for us to reflect on, like, what are we filling our lives with, and who are we filling our lives with, and how can like we be a better version of ourselves, and like how could our life be a better version of what we want it to be? How can we build on that?
Yeah. And I also want to touch on, I couldn't tell you how many people have been like, you suck at texting. Well, yes, ma'am, I do. It is not what I want to do. So I don't therefore put my energy into it. Like, I'm like, don't text me. Call me. Like, if I'm not answering it, I'm not kidding. I probably have like 7 unread text messages. Unless you are my mother or my mother-in-law, most likely I'm not going to respond to it. Like, it's like an inbox that I forget about. And it's because like you have to know where your attention goes. Like, it's that whole like where energy goes, like intention or energy and stuff. And I'm not a texter. Like, even when it comes to Facebook Messenger, sometimes I'm like, okay, I have to do this, but I'm like, I voice note. Like, I have to voice note every once in a while because I don't text.
My brother gets so angry at me because he has 3 girls and he's like working from home and he's super texter. Like, he's actually like serial texter. Like, like the people who don't send like the big paragraph with all the information. It's like text. And I'm like, I can't handle this. Like, it's just like you. I'm like, I can't handle this. So I voice note him back, and he was like, I hate this voice note stuff. Can you not voice note me? And I'm like, then I guess we just won't talk. Like, I don't know.
My husband, so if I'm frustrated about something and he's texting me instead of picking up the phone, I will serial text him because it drives him insane. And it makes him pick up the phone.
You're like, I know that you'll answer.
I'm like, this is not me telling you to do that. I'm like, but this is what I've done. Okay, so I want to go into, before we wrap everything up, I really want to, because this has been a beautiful conversation. There's been laughter, there's been seriousness, there has been, tangible things for people to actually do, what we recommend for them to do. And so what is one thing that is on your heart that you wish all moms knew, or that you feel they need to hear right now?
That if you think you can't do it, you can. Like, starting a business is not as much as you think it is. Like, there is just like the top 4 or 5 things that you need to be doing every single day in order to build that business. If you have a problem that you solve for somebody and you have a solution and a toolkit and the skills to back it up, you can launch a business and you can make money. Yes. We always think like, oh my God, well, I need a website. I need this, I need that. You don't need all the tangibles. You just need yourself, and you need to trust yourself and commit to yourself.
Yeah.
And go out and do, the top 5 things that you need to do. You can build it within 10 hours a week, 40 hours a week, 60 hours. I don't care how many hours you work a week. I have moms who are making almost, 3 figures, 4 figures a month, just working 10 hours a week.
Yep.
I have somebody who just launched her program for the first time, who like outsold the spots in her program, and people are still knocking on the door, and she's like, it's closed. We're full. And, that replaced like the job that just laid her off. And as long as you are able to show up and commit to something, it's not as hard as you think. And there will never be a right time. I guess that's more of my answer. There is never a right time for something. There was never a right time to become a mom. Like, we're never ready for this stuff.
No.
Like, the things that arise every single day, like, you see the memes all the time. I saw one the other day in a mom group. Like, she bought like a 50-pound bag of sugar, and she like walked away for 3 seconds, and it was all over her living room. Like, we're not ready for this. There's going to be things that we're not ready for. So there's not a right time, and business is fluid. It's going to consistently be changing, but as long as we stay aligned with who we are and do the self-development work, we're able to carry ourselves through all of that growth.
Yes. So Sam just commented, nurture yourself. Well, we saw that one. No, there's no wait for the right time, and it's never going to come. You just have to create it. Yes, You just have to create it. Mm-hmm. And I also, because we just talked about a meme, there was actually a really funny meme that I saw as a mom. It was like, the fastest land mammal is a toddler who's been asked what's in their mouth. I'm like, yeah, that's my kid. Like, even my husband was like, that's our daughter. Yes, that's our daughter.
My mother-in-law sent me one yesterday. Let me pull it up. It says after isolation, where's your husband? In the garden. I didn't see him. You need to dig a little bit deeper.
Yep. Yeah, I saw that one yesterday.
Did you?
Pardon me. Okay, so I love that we talked about memes in this. This is good. Enjoy the memes, guys. Enjoy the memes. Share a meme with us.
Share all your memes below.
Yeah. Okay, so before we go, can you share with everyone how they can connect further with you? And then we will also make sure to put it up at the top here, and you can comment at the bottom with all your socials too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a Facebook community that I love to nourish. It's like my little nook in my little corner of Facebook. It is called Business Confidence for Passion-Driven Moms. So I help moms bring their business ideas into action, create the foundation for their business. I work with multi-passionate women who have the type A personality, which kind of gets in the way, because it's like, we need the perfectionism over on the type A, but I'm super multi-passionate and I have all these ideas and I don't know how to make them come together. So I am the solution to make them come together. Yeah. Here to coach you. So yeah, my Facebook group is Business Confidence for Passion-Driven Moms. I am on Instagram, but I'm more active on Facebook, and that is where you can reach me. I have my website and everything like that, but I love having conversation, as we said. So I would love to have a conversation with you, get to know you. If you've been thinking about starting your business or anything like that, I am here to help you and here to serve you.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for coming inside the group. If you guys are not yet a part of the Sacred Mama Co., all of these interviews go live inside of here, so you guys can actually come and see us. So come and join this on Facebook. Go hang out with Ashlee. Go join her. I love her group. I love what she's all about. I'm very much that type A multi-passionate entrepreneur over here. So like, no wonder why we're connected.
Yeah.
But I am wishing you all just such a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. And thank you guys so much for joining us, for being here. And I will see you guys all in the next episode. So thank you guys so much for being here. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Sacred Mama podcast. It warms my heart to truly bring forth such beautiful conversations that were created for you to thrive and rise throughout motherhood. Because Mama, this is not a journey we're meant to walk alone. Don't forget to subscribe and share, a review, and you can find more information and connect with me via Facebook and Instagram. You can find me on Facebook at Kara Ray, and also my free community called The Sacred Mama Co. You'll also be able to find me on Instagram as Kara Ray and also The Sacred Mama. It all truly does start with you. And so thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys all in the next episode.